Let's get it.
Got one that can see.
One, two, three, four. We're going to blow the lid off some conspiracy some more here on the Visual Disturbance channel. Welcome everybody here to the channel tonight for Special Guest Tuesday. Special Guest Tuesday once again. I cannot believe we're back once again here a week later. If you didn't get an opportunity to see last week's broadcast, it was epic. I loved it. I thought it was great. I had a special guest on, Travis Carpenter. Big shout out to Travis Carpenter on the T-Carp. And also his daddy's legacy that was left to him. He's trying to build that back up and get back on the saddle with his daddy's legacy with the Sasquatch Awareness Project. So check that out. The link is in the description and is at your disposal. So a few other things before we get into tonight's broadcast. This is a really cool thing, a special thing that's happening in August. So if you get an opportunity to check us out here at conspiracycon.com, August the 22nd, 23rd, Cave City, Kentucky. Tickets are on sale right now, but I want to make an announcement. VIP tickets are sold out. They sold out the other day, but the general admission tickets and all the children tickets are still up there for your pleasure to check out. If you want to check them out and join us here this August, it would be great to have everybody, and we'd be blessed to see you all at the SpiracyCon. So SpiracyCon, if it's in the description below, but we also have a QR code at the right-hand corner of the screen. And then also, if you get an opportunity to check out the SpiracyCon Facebook page, we're going to do something really interesting tonight. Something first time on Visual Disturbance channel, so bear with me. We haven't done this ever, and it's a special thing that we are going to present here. We are actually going to have a question, and it's going to interact with the SpiracyCon Facebook page. So give us a like on SpiracyCon on our Facebook page. We really appreciate it. Follow us on there for updates, etc. And also, here's the question. So check this out before we get into revealing the guest tonight here on Special Guest Tuesday. On which NYSTV broadcast did Visual Disturbance make his debut? What was this program's title? Does anybody have a clue? So what we're going to do, the QR code is going to be in the corner, left-hand corner of the screen for the Facebook, and also we'll put the question into the questionnaire on the chat. So on which NYSTV broadcast did Visual Disturbance make his debut? What was the program? So if you get the answer correct during the duration of this video, from now to the end until we conclude this broadcast, you'll get a free general admission ticket. And all you have to do is message us on the Facebook, SpiracyCon, and we will check out. Me and John have the accessibility to check that out as we're live streaming here. So whoever gets the first question, this question right and gets the answer right, correct, will get a free general admission ticket. So keep an eye out for it. The QR code will be in the corner, left-hand corner screen. Also, SpiracyCon will be on the right-hand corner of the screen. So you won't want to miss this opportunity, because I don't think we're going to be doing this much. So here we are as a special thing here on the Visual Disturbance channel. So I hope y'all will take advantage of that. So with that being said, this is going to be an interesting topic, okay? So here's the topic. Why many Christians reject conspiracy theories? And you think to yourself, we don't want to come off as too harsh. We want to conduct ourselves with courtesy and respect throughout the evening's broadcast, right? Even in the chat. And we're going to extend for a diverse audience, because there's a lot of new people coming to the Visual Disturbance channel, and it's open for everybody. We're going to have a discussion here tonight, and be considerate, and we're going to approach this with, just in a kind manner, and we're going to go down the rabbit hole together here tonight, and see that corner of the screen there with the thumbnail here. You got Neo, he's playing around with a banana, You don't want to be holding the banana, okay? Begin the broadcast or at the end, you don't want to be holding the banana, and you don't want to be playing around with the blue pill. So, with that being said, without further ado, first appearance on Visual Disturbance channel. It's been in the works for years. I cannot believe that we haven't got this done. And without further ado, John Pounders of NYSTV is here tonight on Visual Disturbance channel. Blessings and welcome, my friend. Thank you for being with me here tonight on Visual Disturbance channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me. This is, like you said, my first time on here. So on my end, it's showing that I have audio. It's not muted. Maybe Dave, all right, see if it's muted on your end. Are you there, Brian?
Well, he's here.
I'm here, and
I made too many comments about the blue pill there, bro, John. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
So, anyways, when we get
Brian?
back here, let's see if we can get back on here. And I don't know what's going on there with that. One moment. Let me see what I can do here. Check, check. Here.
Can you hear me now?
Can everybody hear him? Audio, he can hear him. I can't hear you, though, John. That's the problem. That is the problem, my friend. Check and see if you're muted on my end.
If they can hear me, I'll just kind of keep going. On your end, it looks like everything's good. On my end, everything is unmuted, Brian. So it's possible that there's some kind of interference with me getting to your headphone. But if you guys can hear me right now and they can hear you, I'll just kind of say hello. Thank you for having me on the show, Brian. You'll get a chance to see this on the after edit. I'm super excited, first off, to even be on here talking about this subject, because this is one of the things that has really chipped at me for years. And why do people, in Christians especially, people who should be aware that there's a darkness that is over mankind, and that there is a conspiracy, a full conspiracy against the elect, but also against all of humankind, because we are made in the image of God. And so for them to fully reject everything it has always chipped it away. And of course, not everyone. We've been super grateful to be able to be used to reach thousands of people on YouTube and on Facebook, etc. And so I'm really blessed for that. So there are a lot of people that are waking up and opening their eyes. And now conspiracy theories, will they, other than the fact that most of the so-called conspiracy theories that we've talked about since, going back to me for since 2010, have come to pass in the last few years in a major way. To me, it just should be a way of understanding that maybe they weren't really theories at all. Maybe that it was just an actual conspiracy, and that some people, thankfully, God was able to open the eyes. And I hope that anybody Christian listening tonight that would say, no, there's no such thing, we should trust our leaders. This is something that we need to be aware of, because the fruits of the Spirit do not include trust of man. And I don't know if you're back, Brian, and you can hear me. Hopefully you can. I'm going to give it a second to see if you're in here.
Yeah, the audio is fine, Brother John, and we had a few tech issues along the way, but hey, if it don't have any tech issues, we're not humans. So there you go. So thank you for...
That's right.
I caught the back end of it, my friend. I caught the back end of it because my audio was cutting in and out. But welcome, man. And I agree with you on that. It just seems like, there's people that scoff. There's people that will take all deniability. They'll say, well, they always have a default. They'll always make excuses about why they won't research or why they won't take the lead, right? When it comes to anything, questioning reality in itself. And they won't use the biblical narrative whatsoever to even reference in some shape or form. And, in a lot of places in my neck of the woods, it seems like they're complacent. It's like a cognitive dissonance that has driven their brain activity into just blindness. What do you think about that, John? Because it really does make me think there's just a blindness, like a spell, like a vexation has been over top of somebody's eyes. It's unbelievable where we are in 2025.
the scriptures tell us that there's a spiritual blindness, a partial blindness over Israel, but also a spiritual blindness in the world. And you have to think about it in terms of before you were able to see, to be able to kind of really understand where that's coming from. I know that, Brian, I grew up in the church, and I went to a Christian school my entire life. I went to a Christian college, and yet I still was blind, but very, very blind, very blind. I would say a hypocrite in all ways, shapes, and forms, and very, very blind. And so when I think back to that person, it was all in front of me the entire time. And there were probably people just like myself that were warning me, or that may have been. I don't really know. I don't remember anything like that. In fact, I am pretty sure that there was very few, if anybody, that I knew personally that really had this stuff on their mind at all, even thought that there's no reason to trust the government. There's no, they all trusted the government 100%. They trusted the scholarship. They trusted the pastoral college, or whatever you want to call it. They trusted those things. And it wasn't until, I think, the ripening of the internet that we were able to start seeing things a little bit differently, anyway, for most of us. But there have been people that had their eyes open before that, because most of the people had to go through the experiences to even know that those experiences were real. People don't understand that there is monstrous things going on in the world. There is a collusion against at least some groups of people in the world. You can really see it when you start to see the racial conflicts and the pitting each other against each other. You see that it's not so much, it shouldn't be a racial thing. It's more of a top tier thing against the rest of us type environment that we're living in. But we just don't see those things before our eyes are open. And I know that I didn't. It was something that I was so blinded to. So I believe my experience of what I had to go through, my experience where God took me low. He took me into a place of darkness where I was just down at the very bottom of what you can be as a human, to where you just don't really want to live anymore. You're just tired of it. Just everything sucks type of mindset. You get there because in my mindset, I was in jail. First off, I was going through drug withdrawals. I let everybody in my family down. Like, there's all these things, just shame, all of this shame going through my head at the time. And that's when God spoke to me. So sometimes we have to go through these really hard experiences to experience God for ourselves. And when that happens, that's when you can get that baptism of the Holy Spirit, that thing that guides you and shows you and deepens your connection with the world, so you can see what it is, what it actually is, I think. And we're all learning still. None of us know everything. We're being revealed things over time. We can't even measure a bucket of wind. We can't do, there's a lot we can't understand as human beings right now, because we've just not been able to have that revealed. But at the same time, we can start to see things for what they are, and that's when we become kind of ambassadors, I think, for the truth. In a way, you can go two ways. For me, it was either after all of this was said and done and I was able to see the truth, I was going down paths of, I could have been involved in churches in a big way. I was involved in churches in a big way at first. I mean, we would have big concerts where almost all the youth groups in the entire town would come to the concerts that we had, because we would put on like these, these events that they would have through the churches. But I saw myself being like, I don't feel like I can actually represent the truth within that environment, because we actually got kicked out of a church, not while we were there, but after that, we were no longer allowed to play at this very, very big church, all because of a message that was presented. It was a good message. It was a message about turning from sin and all of that, to a group of kids, which every parent should be thankful. Be like, if it was me, I'd be like, yes, tell the children to turn away from sin, no big deal. But to this church, this was a big deal. So I knew I had to go one of two ways. I had to either just kind of stick my head in the mud and turn that way, or I had to obey what I felt that the Holy Spirit was putting into my heart and mind. And that's when Now You See TV actually became a bigger thing. And that happened in about 2016. From about 2010 to 2016, it was a process. But this opening of the eyes process is something that happens, I feel like, almost instantly. And we see so much. We see everything. It's just crazy. But we can only pray that the Holy Spirit allows this for people. And unfortunately, a lot of times people have to go through very, very dark things in order to even see the light. It's hard to see the light unless you're in pitch dark sometimes, because there's false light. And light can blind you, like too much light, like Lucifer, right, is all super bright. If you stand in a dwelling of a brightness it'll blind you, the same as darkness will blind you. But the light of God is a different light. It's a light that shines through thick darkness, and the darkness doesn't understand it. The darkness flees from it. It's a different kind of light. And so I think that's what people need to feel and see. And, you asked that question earlier to the people and see if they can answer it. That's a tough one, first off. That's a tough question, because I don't know that I could tell you the title of that show, and I was on that show. But hopefully somebody gets it. That'd be awesome. Because if you go to our Facebook page, I don't know if you told them what they win if they get it right, but that's besides the point. My point is that's why we're doing this conference. We want to be a light, and plus also we want to just give I would say the most valuable thing we can do is just be a light in the dark world. I mean, that's really ultimately what it boils down to. And we always hope that we can reach more people. That's why I started Now You See TV, is just to kind of be a light out there to more and more people. And so the one or two paths, and some people that's why I say the blue pill and the red pill. You can take the blue pill and travel down the path of sticking your head in the sand and just, well, I'm doing a good service. I'm still, these kids are enjoying the music. These are, whatever. You can stick your head in the sand, or you can kind of take that other route and just step out on a limb. And, at the time it was definitely a walk by faith type thing for me, because I had a family, right? I had a wife and 2 boys at the time. And so it was something that I had to walk on faith to do, because I had to, basically I quit my job, everything, and just went everything into doing this. And so that's kind of where it went. And of course there's, a long story in between that, but that's a long way of answering your question there. But I have to say it from my point of view, because ultimately I don't understand everybody's point of view. I don't understand what everybody is going through, but from what I had to go through, that's really all I have to base anything on, because as we know, everything we read, everything we research, it could be telling us the truth. It can tell us things that are false. So we have to be able to rely on the Holy Spirit and rely on our experiences with that and the Word of God to really understand these things, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that, John. I mean, and I wanted to say too, I apologize for the tech issues a while ago, my friend. That's the way it goes. We're talking about conspiracies. Conspiracies of the audio, brother. Conspiracies of the audio.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. So like I thought about this, and everything you just said, we're talking about, the title of tonight, we're talking about why many Christians reject the conspiracies, as theorists, as far as any kind of theory. And I have to ponder on it, because it's like I once was blind, literally, and then, well, now I have vision issues, but hey, I literally was once blind to the world. Like, I really was blind to the world. Like, couldn't comprehend things, couldn't understand things. And now I look at it through a different lens, and literally. And I want your take. This is where I'm at. So, on a biblical sense, yes, there's been people that have came and gone, especially in my neck of the woods. I'm trying to watch what I say on here, but when you have brick and mortar places that have, gathering worship centers, etc., it seems like things just seem like it's like a dictatorship in some shape or form. And let me explain. It's like you go to these places, you don't have any open-mindedness to anything, and it's so closed-minded. And forgive me, I'm not trying, like I said at the beginning of the program, I want to be kind-hearted here. But it seems like these people seem to have this authority. And it almost reminds me, just here recently, the Pope passed away. It's almost the same mentality, almost. And there's some good people out there in the world. I get it. There's some good people that have spoke and preached the gospel and preached the word of God 24/7. But there's some out there that I would define as wolf in sheep's clothing. And then on another hint, this is speaking of conspiracies. Did you hear about speaking of Kentucky, did you see the Kentucky Derby the other day, John? Did you see the Kentucky Derby and the horse that won?
I didn't actually see that. The only reason I knew that the Kentucky Derby was going on is because I was in Kentucky the day of it, and I saw I was actually not too far from where that, and so people were wearing the hats, the women were wearing the hats, and so, but I didn't see any news. Tell me about it.
So, speaking of conspiracy, I seen a big old rave online, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. When people gaslight you, brainwash you to all your life in believing a narrative, but then twist the word and twist different wording and different things and try to categorize it to their own will and bend it to their own translation, like literally in their own, let's just say, theological stance, and they try to change it, rewrite it. I mean, it really is really wild. So, God's sovereign. Like, you have a God's sovereignty, right? So on the horse, speaking of the horse, guess what the name in the Kentucky Derby was? The horse that won was Sovereignty. And I seen online, people are like, oh, we're back. And I'm like, how does a horse, a real life creature, four-legged creature, tell me that we're back? And and just magically Sovereignty wins. I can't grasp it. And then in my neck of the woods, people would associate hey, we have several years ago, we got to watch what we say. There was less cans of food in the grocery store. You remember all the shortages and all that? And people will make, there's this cans of food. I've heard people make the commentary God has blessed me with this green bean can of food, and we're either going to be raptured or it's going to be some psyop. I mean, I hate to say it. And it's God is freely giving the herb-bearing seed. You go outside, the birds are flying through the air. Everything in the Bible says that if the fowls of the air are taken care of, guess what? We're going to be taken care of too. So it just blows my mind when you think about the Kentucky Derby and people was making reels and on X. It was really blowing up on there. We're back because of sovereignty, and it's this metaphoric kind of stance. What's your take on that? Because it blows my mind when people really just start either a roast beef or a running horse or, what kind of object can you associate? And then you look around, you see God everywhere. And it's how does one race to define 2025 and say, hey, we're back because of a horse named Sovereignty? What's your take, John? It's insane.
To me, it's 100% mind control. Just like most of the things like that are, because in mind control, one of the tenets of mind control, one of the things that you do, according to everything that I've researched about it, and I know weird that I've researched about it, but of course, if you've watched the Midnight Ride, that we research all kinds of topics to figure out, what's going on here. So repeating yourself, repeating terms, repeating phrases over and over and over again creates this cognitive bias that people can't really, it's weird the way that they can't shake it. So anybody that watches TV, watches the news, they watch CNN, they have their catchphrases. If they watch Fox, they have their catchphrases. If they watch the pop culture, they have their catchphrases, and they have all of these people that they look up to and see. Whereas people like myself, I would never watch any of those things, never could care less about what they have to say. I'll watch a movie from time to time just to kind of see the predictive programming, because I do believe that they speak to each other. These entities speak through each other through these films. I really do believe that, or at least they're conditioning people for a certain thing that they have going on. But I believe you can contribute it personally. I believe this, and I'm no professional by any means. I know that, people always pretend that they know everything about this subject, but when I see it, from everything I've researched, it fits the pattern for mass brainwashing. As we know that just looking at a computer screen, or a TV screen, but the patterns that the light flashes, 24 frames a second, 60 frames a second, this creates a hypnotic state of the brain. And so we're looking at these TVs in a hypnotic state. And so everything that is being spoken, whether it be spells, whether it be subconscious things, or whether it's overt things, is being programmed into your psyche, and there that creates your cognitive world. And so this is also what creates the anger that people have when you disrupt that cognitive bias that they have, because that anger that they feel comes from shock. Boom. You mean if what you're saying is true, then everything that I've been programmed to hear, boom, 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 all these different catchphrases, false statements, this, that, the other, all of a sudden they start freaking out, because it's just, how can their paradigm be that off? And it reminds me, I hate to even bring up the movie Matrix, but really that movie did a great job of showing kind of the state that people are in. But I don't know if you remember this scene, but I believe that maybe I'm thinking of a different movie. I'm thinking of like Inception or something, where the people start realizing that, he's doing something different than they are, and they all start attacking him. And that's kind of what we experience in this realm as well. Once you're opened up, once you've taken the pill, and and this is a metaphorical pill, you see that, okay, there's an enemy, and okay, there's light, there's darkness, there's good, there's evil. Now I need to cling to that which is good and despise that which is evil. You get that point, right? And so hopefully that answers your question, and I know that was a long way around it.
No, it's perfect. And this is a good verse to go along with it. Here we are at Visual Disturbance and FOJC and NYSTV, where we talk about controversial topics. We talk about everything from reptilians to little grays, and let's just say Sasquatch, Mothman, everything, and Conspiracy Con coming in August, so. But this verse alone right here, it goes right along with what we're discussing here. Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. So when you think about that, and you think about, let's just say, curses, right? I see it all the time. Like you mentioned earlier with just, speaking, there's neural pathways, you pick up repetitiveness, memorization. It's just it's the same old horse trough, literally. Not Sovereignty's horse trough, but the same horse trough that we've had over and over, regurgitation of something, and it becomes mind control on steroids. But this knowledge here that they're talking about, well, the Bible's talking about, Hosea, when you reject that the angels of old was shouting for joy when the foundation was laid at the beginning of the creation of the earth, and you see those angels later on in Genesis 6 coming to humans as angel of light. We're talking about Satan, Lucifer, the whole ball, the Mount Hermon at the Great 200. Well, I wouldn't call it the Great 200, but the 200 Watchers that took that oath and changed the dynamic of mankind. Well, it's interesting when they scrub that all out, just push that to the side. They make it a conspiracy, literally, and say those things don't exist. But then when you're rejecting knowledge, you're rejecting the Genesis knowledge of the, let's just say, Old Testament. A lot of people frown upon that. But when you look at that and you reject it, you're rejecting true history and true knowledge, that if one day the people wake up and they'll say, hey, I'm getting tired of being destroyed for the lack of knowledge, and I don't want to be bamboozled into this same old rhetoric of the fallen angel narrative. And I think that's what we're being subjected to, because if we can get down to a point where we're worshiping an idol, or worshiping a horse, or worshiping a hot pot of roast beef, and say that it's okay and everything is good because, yes, God's in control, but I think that is the wrong terminology and the wrong way of going about it, because things are coming down the pike, man. We got upticks in, like we're going to be talking about here, Conspiracy Con here in August. We got a lot of things as far as upticks in alien UFOs, different types of things. I've been seeing a lot of different things, and reels online, TikTok. There's explosions. There's all these phenomenon going on. You got, it looks like Stoichion, right? David and you talk about that on NYSTV a lot. Stoichion, the elemental spirits, and these things are like going bump in the night. Looks like something on Ghostbusters. I mean, what is it? What's really going on in our world? And when you reject solid truth, reject it, and you just start saying this nonchalantly wording, it's like, what? And then, I get confused. I like want to, I'm like, hey, smack my head for a minute. Am I awake? And you was talking about the need, talking about Matrix a while ago, red pill, blue pill. We don't need the red pill and blue pill. We need to be literally woken up to this knowledge here that Hosea is talking about here, the biblical narrative. And then we're being, I guess, capsulated, like we're marveling after characters that are been, let's just say, destroying mankind for generations. And it's blowing my mind that we can't see it. It's just like I said at the beginning, and we had a few tech issues, and I'm sorry if I talked over you. I just didn't know what was going on. But speaking of Stochion, but spirits and stuff, people laugh and scoff at us and say that we're like completely out of it. But if you go back and look at the Native Americans and different cultures, they was speaking about this. They was freely walking around teaching it. And now we can't even teach that the giants of old once existed. We talk about Harry Potter and little magical world Disney characters flopping around, and we don't even care about biblical narrative or anything. And then we just denounce everything, just throw it all out. And then all of a sudden we're worshiping a horse in 2025, and they started bringing back Bibles and biblical literature into the big brick and mortar house, big brick and mortar buildings, Walmarts, etc. And it just blows my mind. We went through this stage like the last 5 years of chaos. And now we're, for some reason, is the principalities, here's my question to you. Is the principalities, is there something being disconnected, John? What's going on, man? Because it seems like a lot of different things. There's a lot of big wins going on in America. But what do you think? There's a lot of things being tore down right now. And are we getting rebuilded? Are we going to go down in a rabbit hole of death and destruction? Are we going to have something, or is it going to be are we going to go through this great age? Is there going to be peace for a while? What's your take?
Man, that's a lot to answer there and comment on, because it's hard for me to really know exactly what the next step looks like. I really do think biblically we're at a stage to where the great deception's here. I think we're at that point right now because, and I say that as a researcher that can tell you that the more you research, it feels like the less you know, and that's because you start getting more and more wrong opinions applied to your own thought process. You just start looking at all of these things, and sometimes it can create a mindset that nothing's knowable. And I think that for me, I've had to understand that is true when it comes to most things. But because of my faith, I've decided to grip on to the Word of God, because I believe that the Holy Spirit has shown me that the Word of God is the Bible. And therefore, if there's any line of truth to be held in this world, because it's really hard to see and decipher otherwise, then it has to be that, in my opinion. I keep saying my opinion because it's based off of faith. All of this stuff, the belief in Christ is based off faith. All of it's based off faith. Yes, I had experiences, and yes, I know personally, but I can't, give you solid anything other than it's by faith that we're saved. And so I believe that the truth is only encapsulated in that. So to me, that's why back in 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then people before me, probably long before me, were telling you that this would happen. This year was predicted many, many times, many, many years ago. And so because we used the biblical narrative to see how the things were going to pan out, we were right on that. It wasn't because we had this super knowledge or anything. It was because that the Word of God told us what was going to happen, and that these entities, it would be like the days of Noah when Jesus was to return. And I think we're witnessing exactly what that was like. What I think happened is, to answer your question, I think that the watchers were let out of their prisons. I think that I did a broadcast about that in my opinion, I proved it to myself. And whether or not I proved it to other people, it doesn't matter. That's not my goal. My goal was to look at the evidence and see where it took me. But I believe they've been unleashed. I believe that this technology is being leaked to mankind, even though it's always kind of been there. It's just now they're kind of coming out the wood, the forces. And I think the Nephilim have been loose for a long time. People have been engaging with those spirits because the demonic entities are actually the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, and that's what it says in the book of Enoch. So we have this narrative, and which I believe is the real narrative. I don't believe that there's any other narrative, because if so, these people weren't saying this back in the day. Actually, a lot of these people that are coming out now about all this stuff are were big skeptics. They didn't believe. They called us conspiracy theorists. We were the conspiracy theorists. We were just these guys that now because there's no hiding it anymore, and there's no holding back, they're out there talking about it all the time. It's funny how all that works, but ultimately the Bible has been able to produce the narrative for me for a long time. I've been right about a lot of things only because I believed the Bible about what was going to happen. And I think the next step that we're going to go through is we're going to go through a trouble like we've not seen upon the earth before. In many, many ways, I think this is what we're going to experience. Maybe not, in the next few years, maybe this year, maybe 10 years from now. I don't know the timeline. Nobody knows the day or the hour, but we can tell the season. And I think the season we're in is pretty evident that the Great Deception is here in some way, shape, or form, and maybe always been here. In the book or in Corinthians, it talks about the spirit of iniquity was even at work back then, but when it would come, when it would all be revealed, it would come to fruition. We would see it take place when the man of sin and all of that. And I think we're there. I think we're to the point to where that spirit of iniquity was constantly being brought up. The workers of iniquity were moving with it, setting up their strong points, setting up their castles. The ones who were able to entertain the Nephilim spirits were doing their bidding for a long time in preparation for the return of the dragon. And that's my opinion, and I believe that that's exactly what's going down.
Yeah, when you talk about the biblical narrative, the first thing I think about when you just spoke about, they have, there's this big take on like off-site civilizations. They're saying there's these breakaway civilizations, there's technology that's so advanced that surpasses mankind, and they're beyond the veil, so to speak, and in the interdimensional gateways, and we're like primitive apes. This is all over the place, man. There's many podcasts, many researchers. There's astrophysics. There's all kind of physicists, everybody going after this, man. They're saying that there's interdimensional beings. Well, here we go. Ephesians 6, verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Well, that goes about dominion. There's dominions, there's kings, there's thrones, there's human thrones, there's angelic thrones, and we have these, people talking about different planetary bodies, the plantes, right? We can talk about the plantes, plane of existence. And they're talking about these craft coming from like Sheol, hell, dark place. And they're talking about the shapes. There's like multiple different shapes and sizes. And we're just sitting around here in a cesspool of mud trying to figure out and twirling our thumbs and twirling our thumbs in the air and acting like we don't know nothing. But, thank God people are waking people up. And, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I'm trying to be courteous and kind and not be too coming off as a scoffer. But when the stuff is in your face, when they're telling you to look up, John, they're telling us to look up, take video footage. Let's just say the administration that was in power before now was telling everybody to take camera footage. This was back several years ago. Get outside, take some footage. We need your help. And it's just all this rhetoric, it's just constantly being gaslit, just insanity. And it makes you it literally, if it can be overwhelming to the average person. I think that's why people have this default. They like, okay, I can't do it. It's too much. It makes me have anxiety. I feel like I'm going to go into to a fetal position. I can't register this. I don't want to face it. And literally there's, let's just say, technological advancements, people having some medical issues right now, and all kinds of other things that are going on with doing radiation. And I really do think, my friend, when you looked at those, I remember you did a program with David on NYSTV, and y'all disclosed that, I think it was April 2021, if my memory serves me correct. There was some documents about the women right? The women having abductions in the first trimester, the second trimester, and then all of a sudden the third trimester, there's no baby. And these women go through literally stress and trauma, right? And a PTSD, so to speak. I mean, it's like insanity. Could you imagine losing your baby? So this is documented, man, and they're talking about there's burns on their, body parts and everything. Like I think in one account there was hands or something like that approaching, and like it looked like there was hands on the woman's body, and it looked human. So are we looking at a multifaceted, offset civilization that has interdimensional capabilities, time travel, whatever it is, and they can literally walk through walls? There's no joke, John. There's a patent. I was going to reveal it one day on Visual Disturbance. There's a patent, man, that they have the technology to walk through walls, John. And that's what I'm saying. Like the government, like the 3-letter agencies, the FOIA documents are talking about. Like they can walk through the walls. It's almost like they're counterfeiting what Christ did when he went to the disciples, that great day when he said, I'm here to deliver you basically to Doubting Thomas. Hey, the great comforter's here now. I'm getting ready to go prepare a place for you. And it makes you wonder really how far we are down the rabbit hole. How far are we down when it comes to Revelation? And these Ephesians 6 verses 12 narrative here, let's just say what you talked about earlier, the Euphrates River is drying up. All these different things are happening. These angels, these entities are rising up out of the ground. I mean, heck, even on Tucker Carlson's show the other day, which, you got to take it for what it is, but they had a guest on talking about there's like cave systems, like trillions of dollars being invested that's been like blacklisted money that has been hidden from the public. And there's bunkers, which me and you knew this, but I'm not bragging. But there's underground tunnel systems. I mean, I've seen this with my own, like literally I used to be a truck driver, right? And there's a lot of guys out there, and I would see like at different truck stops, etc. And they would tell me stories about going underneath the ground and not coming out from, all the way to Maine, all the way to Texas, and travel at night. And, you look at those guys up, some of them call them ghost riders, some call them night riders, etc. And it just makes you wonder, man, where are we at? Like, literally, truly, where are we at? Where are we on the timeline? And nobody knows, man. We can only speculate. We can only think. We can only come together as one accord, one body, and really pray for discernment. But when it comes down to it, man, and when you're associating, like, objects, pieces of wood, trees, etc., and saying it's no different than the golden calf back in the Caleb days at Moses' time. I mean, we're worshiping things we shouldn't even be touching with, and this is what this Ephesians 6 verse 12 is applying here. And, we're wrestling not against flesh and blood, and people up here playing around with principalities and not even understand. I mean, the elite know it. The elite know it, John, and it's getting really tired. But when you gather with the body and then all they tell you that there's none of this exists, none of it exists, what is that? It's like it's brain warping. Just they don't even have to have technology. They just speak with their tongue, and then all of a sudden, guess what? Everybody goes in DEFCON 10 and doesn't even know where their reality is. And that's just, to me, I didn't mean to go too long here, but what's your take on all that? But off-site civilization, underground tunnel systems, subterranean realms, and do you think it applies to this Ephesians 6, and how do you think it applies to where we're going here from 2025 on up? What's your take on this?
Well, I think that a lot of this stuff that we're seeing, because, and I'm not saying personally seeing, like, people maybe seeing orbs or whatever, but a lot of the narrative that we're seeing and the stuff we're seeing is part of the deception. I think that the deception has always been to mankind that you can live forever. This is what Satan, he said you can know good and evil and you can live forever. You're not going to die. God told you you're not going to die. So I really do think that this deception will involve people trying to either, who knows what all of the different things that are around it are going to be concerned. I think people can kind of put 2 and 2 together if they really think about it hard enough, but I don't really believe half of, I would say most of what I see out there. I think a lot of it's conditioning. I think that their capabilities may have never been as great as we've thought that they were, due to Hollywood, the the veil being in front of us. It's kind of like in the Wizard of Oz. It's like a little old dude behind the curtain type thing. And the Bible does say that when the one that brought the nations low, everybody will look narrowly upon him and say, is this the man that deceived the entire world? I think that it's easy for mankind to be deceived. You don't have to do anything too crazy to deceive them. You just have to keep pumping the agenda, pumping the words out, pumping the spells out, boom, 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 and giving them things that tempt them, that destroy their mind, such as the P word, such as the P word can go for several different things. A lot of that is based off of spells being put against people so that they can control them in a better way. I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole with what I'm going to say. I just want people to understand that when we talk to people about these things, in a long time, I haven't had a lot of resistance. It's weird because a lot of the people that have known me for a long time, they've seen me talking about these things for a long time, and now they're like, oh, like John wasn't crazy. He was right, and so like that's kind of cool to actually see that time period. So I don't have as much of that experience anymore with talking to at least friends and family, because they realize that, hey, this has been going this way for a long time. And sometimes when people get scared, they tend to go to somebody that has been talking about these things. Once they see one of these crafts, once they experience the weight of corruption or the weight of that, then they'll think about you, right? They'll think, man, this guy's been talking about this for a while. So I think it's just important to stand firm, be kind, show the fruits of the Spirit to people. And then when the time comes to where God puts them in your grasp, in the net, in the fishing net, or in whatever you want to call it, however, whatever analogy that sounds good to you, that makes you feel good, like let's just put it in this term. We're supposed to be fishers of men, so God takes the fish and he puts it in your net for you. He just says, cast over here, and then you're going to be able to pull that in. But don't, in my experience, don't be pushy and rude with people about stuff. Just, if they don't believe it, then go on. The Bible says not to cast your pearls before swine. And because I'm not saying that they're swine, but when they're operating in the spirit of the world, then it's akin to that. There's a bitterness, there's a hate against all things that are good, even though they don't even understand that. There's just that deep-seated upset feeling that they get when they encounter those subjects. So it has to be the timing. But if you can be a light to these people, and they'll come to you when they see darkness for what it is, and they'll want to seek the light. They'll want that, or God will put you on their path. For me, it happened with the guy that was put on my path. I cried out to God. I said, God, if you care at all about me, if you want me, if you want me to live, if whatever you want, just make yourself known to me. I got to know if this is real. I need to know. And so God put it on somebody's heart that I knew years ago that happened to be a task crimes detective for the narcotics unit. And the case that he was on happened to involve me and some people. And he saw my name, heard my name going over the scanner, because I guess they'd put it out there. And he said that God told him to come and pray for me. And so God put it on his heart. God put me as a fish in his net, and I was there, and I was like ready. I was there. I just laid there, and God gave me the Holy Spirit at that time and changed my life forever. So be ready to be that and show the fruits of the Spirit. A lot of times people, when they start understanding things and conspiracies, they start being hateful, self-righteous, rude, and then people just were like, get away from me, dude. Like, this guy, I can't be around him. He's just so hateful and rude about things. And I've been that way. But the fruits of the Spirit are greater than the judgmental ideology and forcing ideology down the people's throats, because the fruits of the Spirit will always wield good things. And righteous things and holy things. So remember that, I think, when dealing with people in this manner. I think that fishing for men is not as hard as long as you just obey what God tells you to do and just do it and do what he says, because then God gives you it. The Bible says that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few, and you'd be surprised at what you can do if you're only just willing to do it. I gave the example for me, and I'm not saying that I do it every time. Sometimes I'm cowardly in many ways. There's times when my flesh gets the better of me and I don't do what I should do, and I don't walk out on faith maybe where I should have walked out on faith. But I can say this from my experience, that every time I have took the step of faith towards whatever it is that I felt like God was laying on my heart, I have been grateful to do so 100%, because it was always a choice between doing what was wrong because to go along to get along, or to do what I had to do in order to do the right thing. It was really always a clear decision. It really always was. And sometimes my flesh would be overwhelming with things, and just, it's a path. God critiques you and puts you on that way. I think the Holy Spirit guides you and gives you more wisdom as time goes on. And next thing you know, you're continuing to be a completed work and all of that. So just remember that experience. Don't be too judgmental with people when the time comes for you to be utilized as an ambassador for the kingdom.
Amen, John. I agree with that 100%, man. And it's just well said. That's all I can say. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, well said. So the CIA, let's just go there. 3-letter agency. I want to make this very clear for people out there, because I get this a lot. This term conspiracy theorist has, let's just say, put its tentacles and growed its roots all throughout, let's just say, the western side here, the west side, and east side of America and all over America. I don't even know if some countries know what a conspiracy theorist is, but here in America, if you say that the sky is blue or green and there's little spray make you go cray-cray, I use the terminology to kind of play around with the term, when you're looking up the sky, it looks like spider webs. People will call you a conspiracy theorist. And I guess, the stuff that you've been talking about, the stuff I've been talking about for years, I guess we're not conspiracy theorists anymore. And I really want people to know your opinion on this, because here's my 2 cents. Conspiracy theorist was, it goes through a bunch of systems. There's a bunch of systems, and they deemed it as I think it started back in the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. Then it come off to be in the 1950s and the 60s. And then, you got JFK involvement and all that. And the 3-letter agency has played everybody like a fiddle, gaslit everybody with PSYOP after PSYOP, and then hence when you're the 2020s, the 2010s, etc., people will be like, you're nothing but a conspiracy theorist. Wake up. You need to go back to sleep. That's what they basically say, in a metaphoric term. They would make fun of you. And, now it's all coming out. There's different dyes in the food, which I've been saying that for years. There's, little puff in the sky that makes you kind of get a little, let's just say, delusional. And, they got mud rain coming out. They got everything coming out. I mean, my goodness, we got flying spiders. We got everything. I mean, there's, like you said, I think these principalities and wickedness and these humans interaction, they want you to lose hope. They want you to give up. They don't want you to enjoy. They don't want you to enjoy anything that God has put in your way. They don't want anything. They don't want you to be fruitful, multiply. They don't want you to have just a good foundation for family. They don't want it. So they're doing everything in their possibility to change it. And I want your 2 cents on this. What's your take, John, about the CIA conspiracy theorist? What's your take, John? What's your take?
Well, obviously it'd be hard to say anything other than they made up the phrase to condemn those who were looking into their crimes. I think it'd be foolish to come to any other conclusion about why they made that up, knowing what we know in 2025. But I think you're right. I mean, there's I guess a concerted effort, but I don't understand fully what they are, this organization. I don't really understand maybe if it's a spiritual entity I know that obviously it's a physical entity as well, but I don't understand the powers that are in control of that, nor do I truly understand all of what goes on behind closed doors with these organizations. I don't know anything that goes on behind closed doors with these organizations. So it's hard for me to really truly comment on that, but further on them. But I think it's apparent why they made up the term conspiracy theory, because if you remember a lot of the movies about conspiracy theorists, they paint this person as just some loony bin, paranoid schizophrenic that, just is a nut job. That's what they painted a conspiracy theorist as. But when they control the airwaves, it's easy to paint people however they want to paint them. So that's what I think about it.
Yeah, and I think, through academia and everything that they just, they demonstrated throughout all the generational, and it's caused curses upon families, man. I mean, if you think about it, these things have really demoralized our psyche, right? Causing us to, they bend our free will to do ungodly things, with, let's just say, like you mentioned earlier, with frames per second, we're talking about TV, and they can put in evil images in your head, and then all of a sudden, guess what? You're out there on top of a car, or you're out there doing a backflip, or you're running down the street like a zombie. And we see it all the time on the news. People are like, I don't know what's wrong with them people, and there'll be some type of big ruckus going on, and it looks like something off a video game. And it's because these people have gave over themselves to, and they're spiritual things. They're spiritual things that have made them walk into they're walking in disobedience. They're not even thinking that they have a soul in their mind or their body. They have nothing there. They're not even thinking about it. It's like a dog off a leash that's been in captivity for 25 years. It's unbelievable, and it makes my mind. I mean, the whole reason why I'm doing this show tonight, and the whole reason why I brought you on is I wanted your perspective. I wanted your take on it, because a lot of people don't even know who we are. A lot of people are new to the channel, and a lot of people just think that, back then they thought we was kooks, but now they're like, hey, they might have been drinking out of a different pond than what I was drinking out of, So, welcome to the channel. And just to take a few seconds here, we had a few tech issues at the beginning of the program, so I asked the question on which was the Now You See TV broadcast, which I partaked in, that Visual Disturbance was debuted in, and I asked the question, what was the program's title? So with that being said, the left-hand corner of the screen here has the QR code. You can check out the Facebook, and we would appreciate you follow us there and like it. And all you have to do is message on the Conspiracy Con, and guess what? You win. We got about 15 more minutes, 20 more minutes of this broadcast. We'll probably finish up here in a moment, but about 20 minutes. And you get a free general admission tickets to Conspiracy Con here, and join us. Me and Brother John here will be there, Conspiracy Con, and you get an opportunity there to join us. It'll be a free general admission ticket. All you got to do is get the title of the Now You See TV broadcast and send it on over there to Conspiracy Con. Me and John will get it, and when we do, we'll get in contact with you and get all your credentials and your information, all that, and we'll send you a free general admission ticket. So with that being said, check it out. So let's continue on. Yeah, what do you think, John? You getting hyped about that, man? I'm getting hyped about it. What do you think, John?
I am actually really, really hyped about it. And there's so much that, I'm the kind of person that I'm like, we could do this, we could do that. That, can't wait, because, usually when we do conferences, it's more of a ministry type thing. This is actually more of this is a secular event, but with Christian speakers and other speakers as well. So we're having different variety of people, and I'm excited about it because, like, honestly, I love meeting the guys, people out there listening. I love meeting you guys. Like, this is one of my favorite things to do. Plus, this is one of my favorite locations for me and my family to vacation. There's so many different things to do. There's horse riding. There's caves of all sorts. I mean, there's like a Stonehenge that's there, a really nice Stonehenge that we've both seen, and just really, really cool stuff. Plus, on top of that, like, I can't even tell you guys what I am trying to plan, because I don't know for sure if it's going to happen yet. It's going to be based off of whether or not we can get the thumbs up from a certain group. And I can't even discuss it, but man, we're trying to make it happen. And so I'm really excited. We haven't announced all the speakers yet. And Brian, that we're getting new speakers very often. So we're going to have 2 different rooms where speakers are going to be at. But Yeah, it's gonna be cool, dude. I am excited, and I haven't done an event in a long time. I think the last time that we did anything was like a feast day. So this is gonna be really neat, and it'll be a chance to, for just fun and getting to meet like a lot of people that are starting to see the truth or seeing the truth all the way. I don't know. It's gonna be really cool though. Good diverse group of people that hopefully we can be a light to.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too because they're going to have a lot of Bigfoot enthusiasts and all kinds of different people, all walks of life, UFO guys, cryptic creatures, all that. So it's going to be a really good program to check out. Broadcast. We're going to be broadcasting there too. We're going to be live during the event, Conspiracy Con. So it's going to be an epic 2 days. So yeah, join us for that. And John, I'm super stoked myself. So yeah, let's
And I want to say one more thing. I am not near as jacked as Brian made me in that picture, by the way. Like in that comic picture. I wish I'd be great to be that jacked, but I'm not. So don't get your hopes up that John Pounders is going to be this, incredible Hulk looking dude, because I'm not. You guys see me right now, right? So there you go. It looks cool though. I like it.
That's when you go work a milk route, man. After 2 years, and you start.
Dude, I'm gonna have to do more than work a milk route. I'm gonna have to work a steroid route to get there, bro.
Oh man, it's good. It's good to have humor during the broadcast. So anyway, anyways, oh man, we got sidetracked there, dude. Okay, so I got another conspiracy to talk about because a lot of people don't even know what's going on. When we think about these certain things that are going and bump in the night, and seriously, there's things that are just. I don't even know how to even describe it, but did you know, John, there's a rumor that people have either been complacent or they've been brainwashed, but we have to watch what we say here. But they're saying, the powers that be are saying, that there was a solar flare or some kind of coronal mass injection, and when it sprayed across the world and it made everybody lose their memory, and a lot of people's got amnesia, and some people, they said that the statistics, they're always, let's just say manipulating the statistics. They're saying like millions to millions and millions and billions of people don't even remember the last 5 years. I'm not kidding you. Are we talking about a time warp capability, like they talk about? Are we talking about cognitive dissonance at its highest order? Are we talking about ancient antediluvian Stargate program with MK Ultra involvement? Or are they just driving around with their Vimanas or the Orphanas and blasting all the civilizations and just saying, hey, we're going to make you dumb? You know what I'm saying? you just forgot the last 5 years. I mean, what's going on? Have you ever heard that before, John Pounders? I mean, what is that, man?
I've never heard that before. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Especially if it's like, I got to see that. But I can say that if that's taking place, if that's true, then what are they going to do with all those people? I mean, are they full blown amnesia? You can't just let them loose walking around the street. So that's crazy to me. I didn't know anything about it. If it's real, my opinion would have to be like, something happened in the last few years to them to cause their mental state to decline, something ruined their brain, or, I'm not a doctor, but something bad happened to those people. I can say that. That's I could say that with a fact right there. So other than that, dude, I don't have any insight into why people would lose their memory like that. I think that there's probably many things that happened in the last few years that, we could try to attribute to it. I mean, if we're to believe what the news said, there's like a multiverse, there's clones, there's all of these different things. And so maybe when you start seeing people that start looking familiar everywhere you go, maybe, just maybe, who knows what's going on. There's weird stuff going on in this world, and that's all there is to it. And I really wish that I could understand that about people losing that, but I didn't know about it. So tell me more though. I'd love to hear more about that.
So there's strange phenomenon. They're saying that this mass, well, hey, speaking of tinfoil hat moment, how you like that slide on the screen there, tinfoil hat moment.
Like it.
So they were predicting like this 11-year solar cycle, and it can cause power grid issues, navigational equipment. I mean, literally cause chaos. And they're saying that it's going to be a global event one of these days, or as it calls just doomsday. We're talking about great resets, right? And they're claiming this has happened before periodically in 11-year cycles, which I've heard before, but they say that it affects the animals, affects the humans, and people have like turned into zombies in the past, which I don't even know where they get that documentation from, but they're saying that it's literally solar storms. So the only thing I can think of, and I know you've done a lot of research on this, and here's my 2 cents. I remember looking at some documents, and I was blown away, man. I was doing some research because I was looking into Indian mounds, and I found some very interesting stuff that was compelling to me, and I started looking through the documents. And let's just say, you know, in my neck of the woods and all over the state of Kentucky, back in the day, there was a gentleman that walked around. Well, not walked. He went over the place horseback, and he would go to periodically, he would just choose a certain village. And I'm not even making this stuff up. I'm not even going to say a name because to me, it's kind of like that red flag moment. You know, you got to watch what you say, but there is some documentation on this. Well, this man was going around asking for blood and asking for hair follicles, and you're like, whoa, wait. Wasn't the 17, where's the forensics, right? Well, who, what? Did we even have such a thing? So there's a gentleman walking around in this area and claiming that he was going to give money like some coin. Hey, look, I'm here to do a census. Doesn't that sound interesting and familiar? I'm here to do a survey. Mm-hmm. I'll give you 30 coins if you'll give me a blood type and a little hair follicle. And I thought that was really bizarre. And I go to look and read some more, and there was these families. I started cross-referencing the data, and some of the families was coming, you know, from the west and going up, you know, east, north. And they was coming from, you know, Missouri, Mississippi, all up and down through that area, Louisiana. And, John, I'm not making this up, dude. There was men and women in their 30s. And you're gonna blow your mind because it's we're talking about around the 1800s, 1700s range, and the end of the 1700s, and then to the early 1800s. What does that make you think of? And then here's we'll talk about it here in a second. Cabbage Patch Kids, orphan trains. Okay, so the account was that these individuals, these families, these men and women had like amnesia. They couldn't even function. They didn't even know where they was at. And they could barely recognize their children. But the children was young, and they had like literally they was coherent. They're like, hey, we're not even from here. We don't even know what you're doing. We don't know nothing. And here's the kicker. The people that checked this area out, and these people where they was migrating from, they had different clothing on. And I thought it was interesting. The clothing didn't match the time. And I said to myself, where are we at? So here's a tinfoil hat moment here on Special Guest Tuesday. Was it something to do with those events with the New Mandarin fault line? Was there some kind of weirdness going on from underneath the earth, and it just spewed out a bunch of people, and all of a sudden people having amnesia? Now, I will tell you this. There's a TV series called Lost, and there's the stuff that I'm telling you, I'm not making it up, but the stuff on these TV shows have inklings of truth. It's subliminally messaging you and creating chaos in your mind and think it's folklore, just made up, you know, rhetoric. But the city or the Lost series talks about stuff like this. And they had this time travel mechanism called about consciousness being transferred from your past, and they would go in 8-year increments. And I just had a thought, John. I just had a thought. Wonder if those times in those years during the New Mandarin, the Cabbage Patch Kids, the Tartarian Empire. I know you got a lot to say. That's why I'm kind of getting the gears going, man. So you got the Tartarians. We got this whole thing coming out in the world about the little season. You know where I'm going, man. You know where I'm going. And I'm gonna poke the nest here. So you have the Tartarians, the earthquakes, the displacement of people, the exodus. You have these accounts that I'm talking about here where people have amnesia. Could we have had a solar mass injection, something that happened to the sun and some kind of chaos upon the earth? What's going on here, John? What's your take on all that? So I know it's a lot to chew on, but what's your 2 cents, my friend?
Wow, man. I have a lot, I've done shows and broadcasts, hour-long broadcasts about each of these topics, about the Cabbage Patch Kids, about the insane asylums, these massive insane asylums, weird maps. And I've come to the conclusion that it's really hard for me to really truly understand what happened there, because it just seems so strange. But yet there's signs all over the place that a civilization did just kind of crop up out of nowhere. And if you look at for those of you that have Google and can look in Google, look at the population rate over time. There's a chart that'll show you the population from the very beginning of mankind's recorded history all the way, and then right around the time of the Industrial Revolution, the population never really goes above 1 billion, I don't think, all the way up, and then all of a sudden, boom, straight up to billions and billions of people, like instantly. So knowing all of those things, I can still know all those things and not fully have an opinion yet, because I don't know how many of those things are true, because we have to rely on written record from people that are human that we don't really truly understand. But at the same time, it just seems like something really hidden is there. With Tartaria, it just seems really, really hidden. The fact that they tried to put it out of our memory is strange. What can you say? It's strange. The fact that they had millions of people in insane asylums is strange. That could account right there for why people didn't remember anything. They got brainwashed in these insane asylums. I believe they've had the technology to do all these things for a long time. We know that they can clone people right now. We know that they can clone animals. They cloned the sheep dolly a long time ago. You can go get your pet cloned right now if you got the money. So they clone things. So none of it's outside of the realm of possibility for what's going on. It's all fantastical to think of because it's hard to prove it unless you were involved in one of those projects. But at the same time, it's somewhat believable based on what we know about the world.
And, they just came out and said that they had a dire wolf that they cloned. And I remember specifically, John, when I was young, man, I remember on Time magazine, and I remember them cloning sheep, dude, back in like 93, 94. And, here we are in 2025, and let's just not be foolish. Let's not be foolish. But, like you said earlier, you said it very gracefully. With my country slang and, a little Kentucky attitude sometimes, yeah, I mean, I come off as a little bit of thick exterior and maybe come off as a little bit of scoffing, but I'm not. I really, truly worry about people's mind when they can't see that and question that. Like, hey, this happened, right? So what else has happened?
Yeah.
Like we've been talking through this whole broadcast. And, red pill, blue pill, I know that's the narrative of the Matrix movie. I get it. Morpheus, Neo, I get it. But down the rabbit hole you go. And, I brought that up in the thumbnail about the rabbit. You see that in occultic movies and esoteric understanding. People are chasing the white rabbit. And I think it's like a distraction. I agree with you, man. Because if you can't gather with people that are sound, even if the people that don't have it all right, like like you said at the beginning of the program, nobody's got it right. But these guys, we got leaders and people that are in the tech company that are literally playing on our mind chords, man. They're trying to tune us into a different frequency. They're trying to alter our consciousness. They're trying to, I don't even know where they're going to take us to. Whenever the administration said that they was going to drop, time travel vacant. Literally they're talking about time manipulation, basically portals. And then you're going to come on and say, well, we're going to deploy Stargate program and everything like that. Tinfoil hat moment. You see it. People are being cultivated everywhere. There's people in different countries it's just pandemonium, man. Chaos everywhere. And, you wonder if it's the sun, the moon pulling, whatever. I don't know. The constellations with the stars that are in heaven, whoever's playing the fiddle and trying to mess with humanity, we know who they are. Like I alluded at the 200 Watchers, the Satans, all that, man. They're tearing and reaping and just tearing up Jack. And it's got to stop. These are why we do these type of programs. You have to contemplate and ask yourself, where are we at? And just question stuff like, what's in the drink I'm drinking? What's in the food I'm eating? What's in the gasoline? Hey, here's a good one, John. Where's the petroleum? Where's the fossil fuels come from? What do you think about that, John? Was this from the days of Noah? From everybody's, this is what the claim is. This is all the giants and all the dead things on the face of the earth. This is where we got the petroleum. Have you ever heard that conspiracy before there, Brother John, about that? Where's all the fossil fuels come from?
That's why they call them fossil fuels. But no, I think now at least I've seen supposed scientists that have discovered that it doesn't take quite as long to create the fuels as they thought it did, and we kind of got just like this endless supply that keeps coming. I think that somebody to ask about like the black oil and stuff like that would be David. I think we did a show one time where he discussed that this black oil was described in some text as being some kind of like life fluid or something from these entities. I don't really know for sure, but like it just keeps being produced. So I don't know if that's, I don't remember if that was David talking about that or not. I can't be sure. Hopefully you can ask him sometime, but I don't know what that stuff is. I know that it's funny that, you know, the one of the first like petro companies, the big petro companies like the Sinclair, they were the dinosaur, had the dinosaur on their logo of the sign. And they were also, if you remember, the Meet the Dinosaurs, I think it was what it was called. Like there's a show that only lasted for like a season or two, and they were all dinosaurs, and they were like kind of live action dinosaur puppets that were human. And I can't remember what it was called, but the family name on the dinosaur show were the Sinclairs. So there's a lot that could be said about that. Who knows exactly what that is, but there's a lot going on, man, in this world that we're going to see come. And I really feel like a lot of people aren't ready for what the Bible says could happen. So, you know, there's something that I'm going to be talking about this Saturday that I'll just kind of give you guys a glimpse into, but there's weird things going on in the depths of the ocean. And there are biblical prophetic prophecies about this giant dragon serpent that comes forth from the depths, is unleashed and comes forth. And I think that we're starting to see weird stuff. We're seeing animals that are very deep life sea animals, and I can't remember what that was called, but I've been looking and keeping up with the data. There's a website that keeps up with all the data, and they said that from December 2022 onward, they've seen a mass increase of deep water creatures that have come and beached themselves on the water. And it's interesting. So there's real crazy things with that seismic activity, and a biblical prophetic revelation that I think will really, you know, it's a conspiracy. There's a conspiracy, and I think a lot of people aren't ready for what might actually come upon the earth. And the Bible's been true this whole time. Every time we've talked about something that was going to happen and we based it off the Bible, we were never ashamed of that teaching. So,
You know, the thing it makes me think of, John, is the dead. Like the earth will purge out the dead. You know, talking about the Raphaim. It makes me wonder if that's what you're shooting for when you do that broadcast here on ACTV. So,
for sure, dude, because like in the Gaza people, the one that had the 6-finger sign and everything, they've been chanting Rafa lately. Rafa, don't know why, don't know what reference or context, but that's what they've been chanting lately. It's strange. And if you look on their sign that they had, the one where they had the 6-fingered fist on there, it says "We are the flood," and the flood has to deal with the Apsu and the deep in ancient texts. You know, this deep being unleashed, which goes along right with what you're talking about. So yeah, there's a lot going on there.
So we'll stay on topic here with that. So you think, here's the thing, we've been talking about this on FOJC a lot, you know, with the pyramids. You think they've unlocked something, John, and these ancient antediluvian technology is vibrating the ground, and then you have literally tunnel systems and all these creatures that literally you don't want to touch or see in our eyes. We don't even see it in our peripheral. We don't want to even have nothing to do with it. That's why God shut it off. You think it has something to do with the ancient days of old, the Nephilim, the offspring, the Book of Enoch talks about the angels that failed. They not only did they desecrate and defile the women and the men, you know, all messing up with the human side, but they defiled the creatures of the whales, the animals, the plant life, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and animal life. And I wonder if this is let's just say the residue coming back out of the abyss. I mean, literally inside the ground, and then it's just oozing up to the surface. And it makes you wonder, That might be why there's UFO activity. That might be why there's more people seeing Sasquatch. That might be why there's more people seeing these anomalies in the sky because we're monitoring. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something going on, and they might be literally looking at, so-called nuclear material. And here's my 2 cents, John. I want your take. Do you think that angels and giants, let's just say cryptos, do you think they resonate some type of frequency that mankind does not? And I'm saying like on a nuclear signature, because it makes you wonder. What's your take?
I think that they almost have to, especially with Bigfoot, because there are so many people that have been seeing Bigfoot lately, more and more and more. I think it goes right along with the same time frame that they've been seeing them more. And yet there is no physical evidence of these creatures anywhere. Like, I mean, there are some physical evidence, I guess, footprints. Some people have claimed to have had hair, DNA evidence, etc. But you would think you would find a body. You would think you would find something along those lines if it weren't multidimensional. And so, yeah, I think it almost has to be in that way. I was actually talking to a guy that I train with for jiu-jitsu, and he was asking me what I thought about Bigfoot, and he said, in his opinion, it had to be multidimensional, and I agreed with him, because if it was physically not able to manifest wherever or disappear wherever, then it's hiding deep within the earth, and we don't really understand it yet. So I don't know, Brian. It's hard for me to say for sure, but I think it's possible for sure that maybe not multidimensional, but just straight up a different kind of entity than we're used to. We don't know all the kinds of entities. All we know is what we are. We know that angels can manifest as human. They can manifest as many things. So there are entities out there that can manifest into physical form in different ways. Satan came and was inside of a serpent. So there's different ways that these entities can manifest. So that's highly possible.
Well, I'm going to take us down a little rabbit hole before we conclude the broadcast here tonight. So a hypothetical, you spoke about Matrix a while ago. We know the mother's womb is the Matrix. We know we're entering the Matrix when we come through the mother's womb. We know that. So what if, because you think about it, we're special, we're unique, we're in God's image. We come out of the mother's womb, we stay in the mother's womb for approximately 9 months, okay? We're very special, we're unique, we're in the image of God. These other things, though, yes, we're talking about, animals that we know, they cows, sheep, goats, all kinds of farm life, we get it. But some of these other creatures, though, totally different narrative. So what if the water is special and sacred? For example, you have the anatomy of a woman, the placenta, the, amniotic fluid. What if there is something special and unique about that? And that's why they wanted to defile, the sons of God made with the daughters of men. They took wives as they chose. They knew that there's something about that specialty of the mother's womb, the amniotic fluid, the liquid inside, the way it would be able to nurture and nourish this abomination getting ready to come out. What if there's one, check that off the box, and then the other thing, getting to these creatures that are coming out of the ground, what if they're not born of the same water? What if there's something in the water down there that is of ancient evil? Davis talked about this many times on a lot of programs you guys did, but what if the water is different? And when they come here, they dematerialize, or they manifest, because they either manifest or dematerialize into the vapor. Like there's this water vapor. We talked about a lot of time on FOJC. I know you guys have talked about on LUCTV with the vapor canopy. What if the vapor canopy has to be at a certain residence in a certain frequency, and then the atmosphere has to change for these things to come up upon the earth, and men will be literally lost in transition because they believe nothing they don't even know nothing. They think the core is running at 1 billion miles an hour, and they have no inkling. So I know that's a huge, huge question. So what if the mother's womb is different? It's unique, which we mean you would agree it is. but the amniotic fluid, the placenta, the way it's nurtured, the way the body is presented, the way the living soul gets injected into in conception. So you have all these beautiful things that God has put into play. It's like it's orchestrated like a beautiful orchestra, and in these hijacking of all these entities, and they love it because that's the way that they can manifest. Do you understand? Like they have to have it to walk amongst us. Think about it. It's just a hypothetical. I've never said that before in any program, I think. But what's your 2 cents on that, my friend? Because that's crazy. It's probably crazy, but here's a tinfoil hat moment. What's your take on that? It's a lot to take on. It's a lot to digest. But what's your take?
Well, I think that in order for them to operate in a physical body on this plane of existence, they do have to be born through the matrix. The Bible talks about everything that's born through the matrix. Every male that comes through the matrix is mine. The woman's body has an egg, and it is able to incubate a life onto the earth. And we see a similar, you asked a question about the creation of the water. Does it have a creative property, etc.? And I would say this, that in the Bible, it talks about in the creation, it says, let the earth bring forth this, boom. Let the water bring forth this, boom. Let the air bring forth, so each of these particular types of elements, I guess you could say, the Bible said, let them bring forth species after this kind, after this kind, after this kind. And I take it to mean that somehow that the earth also has a productive womb of sorts for these types of animals. I don't know. I can't prove that, but it's interesting when you look at the way that the Bible talks about creation, you see, about the deep, and the deep is used for the word Leviathan. He looked out over the deep. That is the same word for Leviathan in the scriptures. And it also talks about the word dead things are formed in the deep. And that word dead things is also Rephaim. You guys can fact check all of this. If you don't know how to find it, I don't have the reference off the top of my head, but just research the words I'm using, and you'll find exactly what I'm talking about. But that dead things word is Rephaim, these reanimated type creatures or whatnot. And we have Rephaim post-flood. These were Og of Bashan was a Rephaim king. He was the king of the dead, and he was the one that had the bedstead that was, I can't remember exactly how many feet tall. So there's a lot of connection there with water and different things. But ultimately, it's all speculation on my end. I can't really tell you exactly how things are formed, but there's definitely a mystery there. The Bible talks about when two people become one, there's a mystery there. When you take a wife and just like there's a mystery of the splitting of Adam and to make Eve, there's a mystery there that I don't fully understand 100%, but I hope to one day. Maybe I will one day. I know a lot of people think they do understand it. I've heard a lot of different theories, but I hope to one day see the absolute truth behind it.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, I didn't mean to trip you up, man. I actually didn't mean to trip you up at the beginning, man. Talking about a conspiracy, we had some tech issues.
Yeah, no, I like it. I don't mind thinking about things. It's just there's a lot of things that it's hard to have an absolute answer on, because I don't think that you can be honest and have an absolute answer on those things. It's a lot of it has to be somewhat speculation.
100%. And if somebody says that they know everything and they're on top of a high mountain, they have all the keys to the kingdom and every type of education and translation, you better run for the hills. Because that's somebody you don't want to be yoked up with or even following if they know it all. Because that's the reason why we did this program. Because me and John here do not know it all, but we wanted to be people give people a different perspective, the way we think, the way we're just having a casual conversation here about conspiracies. And I think we did a good job tonight, even though we had a few little tech issues at the beginning. But do you want to go a little longer, John? Do you want to go a little longer? How you feel?
Oh, man,
How you feel?
I don't think you ought. I know that everybody would say, yes, go longer, but trust me, much longer
Yeah.
and you guys you won't get much out of it. I promise that once I keep going for a while, once I get tired, it's game over. But I'm not.
Yeah.
I could go for a lot longer, but I promise you that the best of what I had to say, I pretty much said. I guess if you would want me to say one more thing, I can do that for sure. But I don't want to ruin the program by continuing to ramble.
Oh, you're totally fine, but I do want your last thoughts on everything. And before we get your last thoughts, John, I want to emphasize this again, folks. We're an hour and 30 minutes in. I got the question up on the screen. The QR code is on the left-hand corner of the screen underneath my camera here. On which NYSTV broadcast did Visual Disturbance make his debut? What was the program's title? I'm looking for the title. There was actually one person, I think two people's commented, and I'm just looking forward and giving people opportunity here. The question is up on the screen. All you got to do is scan with your cell phone or your smartphone, and it'll hook you right up. You check out the QR code at the very bottom right here underneath my finger, pop it, and it'll take you directly to our SpiracyCon Facebook page. And then all I need you all to do is like it, follow us on the page, and then hit the message and message me or John, and we'll be accepting of all that. And if you come up with the right answer, if you get the right answer about the NYSTV broadcast, if you come up with the right answer before we conclude this program, you get a free general admission ticket to see me and John. So you get a free a general admission ticket, and it's a price value of $99.99. So I mean, you're getting a free ticket, 2-day pass here for SpiracyCon. So if you can answer this question, you'll get you'll get a free ticket, but then you'll get in contact. I'll get in contact with you pretty quick. So all you got to do is just send your email and everything to me. So we'll knock it all out and get you a free ticket. So while the hour or the few minutes last. So John, let's get hyped about it, man. Let's get everybody zoned in here. I just want to thank you for being the first appearance on Visual Disturbance, and I hope you'll come back. The question is, John, to everybody out there, would you come back to Visual Disturbance channel if you get an opportunity?
Dude. Oh yeah, of course I would. Why wouldn't I? That'd be a crazy move not to. So hopefully all the people out there that you would want to have on would come on here. That would be a great show. So hopefully I hope success comes your way, especially through Visual Disturbance, FOJC. You've already done a great job through that. So I'm fully support what you guys are doing and what we're trying to work together and build something here. So I appreciate that about you, and I appreciate your audience being gracious enough to hear the ramblings of a 42-year-old man from Southern Indiana. So thank you guys.
Before I got sidetracked, I was going to say something like, before we do their SpiracyCon, I'm gonna take your cartoon character and turn it into either a jacked up Arnold Schwarzenegger that lifts 10,000 pounds or whatever. I'm just messing around, John. But there's enough of our rambling. Thanks for even coming back on here for the first appearance. I mean, this has been we talked about it for 3 years, I think, and I think
we have.
and it's not happened. It wasn't the right opportunity, the right time. So here we are, and I thank you for the timing. It's been wonderful, and I appreciate your time. And but yeah, folks, we got a few more moments. Just message us here. I'm trying to keep the door open for everybody, because as soon as we turn the stream off, it will not happen anymore. We won't be able to. It's a one-time opportunity. As soon as I turn the stream off, we won't be able to give away a free general admission ticket.
Why don't you give them a hint? Just a good hint that it's a good way, even if they don't remember it, because I bet you there's a lot of people that remember the show, but they can't remember the title. I know I can't remember the title. I don't, and I should, because I'm probably the one that put the title up. So maybe give them a hint. Give them a little hint.
So I'll tell you a story about it real quick. So it's a NYSTV. There's one hint you see on the screen. That's not much, is it, Ron? And also it's talking about giants. I talked about the Indian mounds in my neck of the woods. It was actually pre-recorded. John and David did a whole presentation. I was on there for about 17 minutes. Brother David Carrico had a specific name for me. Anonymous. It was like a incognito name. And there's been a few people in the chat say the name Dr. You know what, but they never told me the title. So all you have to do is send me a message on the Facebook's Conspiracy Con at the QR code at the very bottom of the screen. All you gotta do is just tell me the title. I know it's a we're going through a scavenger hunt. I know. And so yeah, I was honored to be on that, the Midnight Ride that year, and we talked about certain things. Let's just say I'll give you a hint. We talked about Noah's grandkids. There you go. Noah's grandkids. John, do you remember that? You remember that program, Noah's grandkids? And David talked a lot about Noah's grandkids. So we talked about mounds. We talked about serpent mounds.
I still don't remember the title though.
Yeah,
so I guess I'm not the one trying to win, but I don't remember the title.
Oh man! So
hopefully somebody will get it, man. I hate to not give away a free ticket.
I know, right? And we never do this. I've never done this before, and I've never done it on Visual Disturbance. I've never put QR codes up and done all this, so it's actually just kind of fun, actually, for us. So somebody said they tried. Can I get the $100 instead of the ticket? Oh wow! It's always good to interact with the chat. I appreciate you guys. It's always interactive in the chat. Somebody messaged me though. There was some person asked about Proverbs series. I wasn't in that, and then let's see. Somebody just inquired about 2 tickets, but I haven't got anybody to just scan that QR code and go the message, and we give you a free ticket, general admission ticket. No joke. It's not. There's no scheme. There's no con in it. It's literally you'll be coming to the conference. The Conspiracy Con. But yeah, we're gonna give you a few more moments here, and me and John are running out of coffee. And
that's right. I don't have coffee at all right now.
That's not good.
I drank my coffee a little while back there, so.
Yeah, so we're running.
But it's all good. I don't need to drink any this late anyway. But
yeah, we're running on fumes right now. But yeah, on which NYSTV broadcast did Visual Disturbance make his debut? What was the program's title? And I've got nobody. I got nobody talking. I got nobody saying it. I might offer it one more time, but I don't know. This was the only time.
You're looking for Rain Man here, man. You're looking for Rain Man.
I know, right?
I know. Yeah. I can't even remember it, but my memories. I would say I do remember what we talked about for sure. I remember that. So maybe if they could just tell us exactly what you talked about in a summed up way. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about the Canaanite. I talked about the Canaanite traditions about the concrete wall being around the mounds, and I showed a particular mound that had the concrete wall around it. It had a telephone pole on the top of it. I mean, not a telephone pole, American flag on top of it. And telephone pole. We're hacking into the earth energies here, folks. yeah, that's what they would do here in Kentucky. Put a Indian mound and put a transformer on top of it. That's probably what they do. It'd be Kentucky redneck history. That's what you should call it. But yeah, some people said about the appearance and all that. But yeah, let me go ahead and I'll even give you the date. I'll give you the year. I've already forgot the year myself, but I'll give you the year because I want to make sure everybody remembers it, and I don't want to make people feel like I'm just trying to trip them up. So 1 second, I'll give you the year, and then me and John are going to conclude tonight's program. Well,
I think it had something to do to start with the S.
Well, it started with a G.
Am I right?
It started with a G.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago, and it aired in 2021. 2021. All you gotta do is message the Conspiracy Con Facebook. It aired in 2021, and it started with the word. The word was G. And
don't guess on the live stream comments. Go to the Facebook link, because even if you could guess it right here on YouTube, and you could be typing away and big thumbs up everything, and you still won't win unless you do it on Facebook. Now, if you don't have Facebook, what do they do? Can they do it on the live chat? What if they don't have Facebook? What if they're just one of those people that doesn't have one?
I guess we'll open up the chat. Everybody put it in the capitalized letters and let me know what you guys think. Somebody said Druids and Nephilim. That's not the title of it, but that's a really good guess. Let's just, I'll tell you what, the last word of the title is, I'll give it away. So it's, let's just say the hashtag is Tartaria. We spoke about Tartaria earlier. So Tartaria, we talked about the hidden. Here's what we talked about: hidden history from a number of years ago. I'm giving you a description here, folks. And uncovered cryptic history and revelations inscribed in certain. There's a certain book. I just need this precise title. I won't even be stingy about it. Just give me a few of the wording on there, and we'll give you the free ticket. I'm trying to be kind here. I might even give you the whole first word, and then everybody on YouTube be like, let me Google it real quick. Well, there's been people message on here, so that's a good thing. All capitalized letter. Don't go in there, boys. Somebody said, Brian said, don't go in there, boys. There's that stone house. So we referred to a redhead giant, a stone house, and we talked about the location of certain mounds that I've looked around, surveyed in my local area. And man, I thought we'd get a few little participation. The orphan trains, no. But there has been a few people message. That's a good thing. So I'll give you something. This is the last thing I'll give you, the last hint. Just type in WW3, and there's your super hint, and I pretty much just gave it away. And put it in all caps. All caps. I don't want a link. Put it in all caps. Forgive me for being so particular. But if you... Oh, somebody got it. Somebody got it. Because I don't know. Because I don't see anybody. I've been watching the chat. I don't see anybody mention it.
Okay.
I have a winner. I think I have a winner.
All right. What is it?
Let's see. Okay. That's awesome.
Let's hear it, man. What was it?
Okay. So that was the Gog of Tartaria Rising. Jubilees 10. Jubilees 10. Jubilees 10. So somebody, I'm not going to mention their name. They know who it was, and I will take care of it. I will take care of that ticket. I want to be confidential with the people's names. I don't want to give away anybody's name, but there has been a winner. Somebody got it on the messenger. Somebody did it, John. I'm pretty stoked about that, man. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, well, I can't even type. I'm trying to multitask here. So, yeah, we got a winner. I didn't see anybody in the chat. I was watching it, and thank you all for attending with us tonight and going this long with us this afternoon here and being here on Special Guest Tuesday. But thank you, John, for your attendance and being on here, man, and putting all your knowledge out there, dude. You gave your testimony and everything. Is there any last words before your coffee completely just it's non-existence now? Got some last words, brother?
Man, I will say this. Jesus said this, so I'm going to say it to you too. I send you out as sheep amidst the wolves. Be ye wise as serpents and harmless as doves. I think that's the best advice he could have given anyone, especially in the world that we're going through right now. That's a great advice, and really look at what that says there and take it to heart.
Amen, John. Yeah, amen. And like John was saying earlier, fishers of men. We're here to be fishers of men. We're not going to, there's people in wolf sheep's clothing out there, man. There's a lot of people out there that will just try to sink your ship pretty quick, and they're really tactical. They're battleship tactics, okay? But I hope somebody's got something out of this tonight. I hope it's a blessing to you all out there. Watch out for cryptics. If you smell sulfur, don't jump in the lake, okay? Jump away from the lake and run for the woods. And put the full armor of God on, and remember the Ephesians 6 verse 12, because in the CIA narrative, because when somebody calls you a conspiracy theorist, you just better put your head up high and say, hey, they're making even Jesus out of a conspiracy. John, they're even making Jesus out of a conspiracy, and say he didn't even die on the cross, and then there's Satan's already he's already came and gone. That's what they're saying out there in the world. So isn't that terrible? So keep your head high and walk that narrow path of Jesus Christ, and don't let the world bamboozle you into falling off the narrow way and falling into a ditch where there's water creatures come out of the ground, like John alluded to, and snatch you up and sink you in a sinkhole and sayonara into Golgotha. So with that being said, John, you want to end us out of here, man, because you're the special guest. End us out of the show tonight, man. You have the honor.
All right. All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's time for you to take that like button and put out every bit of anger that you've been saving up all year round. And just imagine you've got this hammer. And then when I say bang that like button, pound that like button, do whatever you got to do, make it visually disturbed. We're going to do it on the count of 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I hit it. Hopefully you guys did too. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best. Subscribe. Check out other content. Go out there and be a light to the world. See you guys later.
I've got one that can see.